This is episode 12 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. Bengals fans aren't doing so great after a humiliating 36-10 beatdown at the hands of the Pittsburgh Steelers. While the Browns fans are enjoying an expected victory over a 2-win Houston Texans team.
Oh,
As
yeah.
always, what?
I said, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I said, oh, yeah.
As always, I know they made my team look stupid this week, but the Steelers still suck.
The Steelers still suck.
Yes.
But yeah, it did.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
But yeah, it did make y'all look stupid.
Who was it? There was this one commentator that I think it might have been Chris Berman. I think Chris Berman on this Monday. I was watching this Monday night game, and Chris Berman was like, "And the Steelers humbled the Bengals," and I'm like, "Humbled? That's a nice way to put it." Yeah.
Y'all play them on Monday night in a couple of weeks. I think y'all get them on Monday night in a few weeks.
Well, you see, that's what I've been saying this whole year. For me, now, okay, I'll own up to it. In the last podcast, I kind of talked myself into like, oh, the Bengals are going to come in and win this one because, it seemed like momentum was on our side. And, I thought maybe the Burrow magic was enough to overcome the bungleness. But it wasn't. We weren't ready, and we were never ready. But I was I kind of talked myself into it. But what I've been saying most of this year is this is not the game that I expect us to win. It's the Monday night game later this year that I expect us to win. And I'll be honest, I got caught up in the hype, and forgive me, I'm a Bengals fan. That's what we do.
You're okay, man. Nick Foles, how you make that throw, bro? Come on, Nick Foles.
And then it got dropped.
Come on, Nick Foles. I don't know. He should have caught that. So you gotta catch that.
So what are you drinking tonight? What are you drinking tonight, Thomas?
Oh, today I am drinking the sherry Schaffhoff. Sherry Schaffhoff. Sherry Schaff is a fruit beer.
Okay.
It is brewed in I want to say somewhere in Europe. Actually, no. It is. It's brewed by the Duval Brewery. Actually, Duval Brewery is a Belgian beer. Duval is actually Duval is a really good beer. If you ever want to try like some just really good like craft beer, try Duval. Duval is so good. They also have Vedette, which is a wheat beer that is way better than Blue Moon. But this is Cherry Schaffhoff and Duval from the Duval Brewery. And it's a really good beer, and I adamantly enjoy this beer. So I'm looking forward to drinking this during the podcast.
All right.
What about you?
Well, first of all, I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever enjoyed cherry beer in my life, or cherry anything that's carbonated. It's gross to me.
It's pretty damn good.
Well, there you go. If you like cherry beer, then what did you say? It was cherry choof.
Cherry Schaffhoff. I am butchering his name.
Hold it up to the camera again. Hold it up to the camera again. Cherry Choof. I'm gonna call it Choof. I'm sure there's a better way to pronounce it, and somebody will correct me eventually. But I'm gonna call it Cherry Choof. Thomas likes it.
Yeah, you big cherry tooth.
Yeah. I don't. Anyway, I'm drinking. I'm drinking a local brewery around here called 50 West, and it's a white ale. And honestly, what drew me to this is the name of it is Doom Pedal. Like that's just a cool name, Doom Pedal. And it's also on this like this light blue and white like kind of nice feeling can, and it's called Doom Pedal. Like what a weird thing. You have to forgive me tonight, y'all. I've been battling a cold all weekend. So Hopefully I'll be able
You
to.
can beat up cold.
No, well, yeah, but it's gonna get in the way. But anyway, as far as this beer, white ale, oh, delicious! That is good. That's good stuff. 50 West. Doom
Your
Pedal.
reaction.
That is my seal of approval. That is fucking great. That is up.
Your reaction to that was priceless.
That was really good.
That's a good
that
reaction.
That might already be like. That might be like top 5 for me right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the part of the podcast that this is about, and the part of the podcast that's probably going to be the most painful for me as a Bengals fan. But you know what? We can start with the not so bad part. Let's talk about the Browns beating the Houston Texans in another game, just absolutely ransacked by bad weather.
Yeah.
You,
so when we
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say when we shot the podcast on Friday, I believe, or Thursday night.
Yeah.
I said when I read the weather report at that day, when I read it, it said about 20-mile-per-hour winds, right? And light rain, on-off rain. That was Thursday. When I edited the podcast on Friday, it went up to 30 degrees. And when 30-mile-per-hour winds. By the time we posted the podcast, even like the day after we posted the podcast, if you go back and watch the podcast, I actually screenshotted a photo of the weather. That weather photo 2 days before the game was not accurate of how bad the weather was before kickoff. So the weather was so bad before kickoff that they actually had to delay the game for almost 30 minutes. The rain, it was just horrible. I drove in that weather. Trees were down in the city. But after that storm kind of went away, the weather actually kind of cleared up. And it wasn't as bad as it was 2 weeks ago, because 2 weeks ago it was raining, it was windy, and it was snowing. And it was hailing. It was like going on and off. After the original storm blew by, it was just windy and cold. So the weather wasn't as bad this weekend as it was 2 weeks ago. But nonetheless, it was still extremely windy, which means that it was really hard to throw the ball. So anybody who's judging Deshaun Watson's performance or Baker Mayfield's performance should just stop right now. Just stop. And you're like, oh, well, what about all the overthrown or underthrown balls? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you could throw a football 35 yards and 50-mile-per-hour winds and 20-degree weather right off of Lake Erie. Oh, you can't? Well, you should shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Wait, hold on, my pick. Shut the hell up.
And I believe I've already mentioned this on the podcast before, because this isn't the first time we've had horrible winds like this kind of destroying the integrity of some of these games. But it kind of reminds me of back in 2008 when I went to a Bengals game with my dad, and you had Steve McNair and the Titans going up against Carson Palmer and the Bengals, and it just like you couldn't get a damn pass anywhere. I mean, you had to run the ball, and whoever had the best run game won that game. But it was kind of like, that's pretty much what happened this week. You had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt combining for, what was it, like 230 yards each, or not each.
230 yards total.
230 yards total. Only one touchdown for the Browns, but that's all you really needed because the Texans couldn't do a damn thing. Deshaun Watson did manage to score a touchdown in the air, though. Only passed for 163 yards, but he did manage to throw for a touchdown. And but like the Texans just seems like the Texans couldn't. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch a whole lot of this game because there was a really good game going on between the Jaguars and the Packers, and I just kind of mostly flipped over to that because nothing was happening in that Browns game. But from what I can see, it looks like the Texans were just not able to generate much of a pass rush at all. From some of those highlights that I saw after the game, it looks like Myles Garrett came through and dominated yet again, putting another game towards his Defensive Player of the Year resume.
Yeah, so when you play in a game that windy, that cold, the thing that you want your quarterback to do is just not to turn the ball over, and that's what Baker Mayfield did. He didn't turn the ball over. He got sacked because of a missed snap. They still were able to get a field goal from that drive, but one thing about this weather was it was you had to have the ball at the right time. And the one drive the Texans had, they got a touchdown. The wind kind of like calmed a little more, and like they just had an opportunity to drive the football down the field because you just, and you kind of had to be lucky. Deshaun Watson had a crazy throw that set them up 40 yards on the third down play. That it was just nuts. Probably would have been the craziest play of the week if it wasn't for that throw that Kyler Murray had 20 minutes later. But anyway, no, but like he had this crazy throw falling back with the wind and everything. It was nuts. If y'all watch the game, I know what throw I'm talking about.
I watched the very end of that game because Kyler Murray was my like one and only chance at winning in fantasy this week because he's my quarterback. And that play actually gave me, for the second week in a row, a miracle win in my fantasy year. I'm like 7-3 on the year, and I just beat an undefeated team. It was magical.
Yeah. So like judging Baker Mayfield's performance, because we got to talk about Baker Mayfield's performance. He went 12 of 20, 132 yards, 1 sack, a 79.6 passer rating. It is what it is. So it's not really like you got anything out of your quarterback play this game because you just can't throw in this weather. You just can't. So what this game came down to is just came down to the running backs. And the Browns had running backs and had 2 running backs, and Texans don't have one running back. It's that simple. And when you have Nick Chubb go for 126 yards and go out of bounds at the 1-yard line to end the game, Kareem Hunt 104 yards. They just tore up that defense, and they're just made for that weather. So if the weather's this bad every week, then the Browns are going to have an advantage because the Browns have a very physical offensive line, and they have a very physical run game. Our running backs are just going to get better. They play with each other, and our defense is starting to kind of embrace that kind of weather, and they're starting to bully offenses who come here in Cleveland, and that's what you need to do. So the Browns players got to get used to this weather because this weather is actually their advantage. That's their home field advantage. This bad weather, and that's going to make them tougher, and that's going to make playing Cleveland harder when y'all play teams like Baltimore or you get Steelers one more time this year. So it's very important to be able to channel this weather. You got some big games at home coming up.
That running game from Cleveland was just, in a game like this, just you really can't imagine the importance of a running game like that in a game like this, and especially in the AFC North where the weather can just get really bad and really difficult. And the weather in the Bengals game was also not so great, but man, that didn't seem to affect Big Ben at all. It affected Joe Burrow, and the Steelers seemed to affect Joe Burrow. And man, it really looked like for the first time, Joe Burrow just really looked like he had no clue what he was doing out there. He did get a touchdown. He did manage to pass for over 200 yards. That's something. He looked really bad when he was being pressured, and the Steelers, as you know, were great at getting pressure. Now, what's remarkable to me is actually the Bengals won the running game this week in that horrible weather. That's actually part of why it's so frustrating that we got lost, that we didn't just lose, but we lost so badly. But the Bengals combined for 139 yards rushing on the ground this week for the Bengals, compared to holding the Steelers to 44 yards on the ground. You would think that would be massively sliding in the Bengals' favor. You'd think that'd be the Bengals are so Bengals have such an advantage here. Although part of that's helped out by the fact that the Bengals ran a fake punt and got 39 yards in the fake punt, and that was way near the end of the game when it was already way over. And also 22 of those yards are from Travion Williams, who got all his yards when the game was way over, and they were just resting their starting running back. Well, their backup running back, Giovanni Bernard, who's starting because Joe Mixon was out. But a lot of those rushing yards kind of came near the end of the game when it was just basically completely over anyway. But still, the fact that we held the Steelers to 44 yards on the ground in a game with horrible weather, you would think would have given us a huge advantage. But in reality, you got Ben Roethlisberger doing that cowboy thing he always does. There's all this talk this week of like, oh, is Ben Roethlisberger going to play? Is Ben Roethlisberger going to be able to move around with those bum knees of his? Is COVID going to be a problem for him? Comes out 333 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 0 sacks, 110 quarterback rating. I mean, like, come on, dude. As a Bengals fan, I am just so sick of seeing this dude come in and just like, whenever we're feeling good about this Bengals team, it's just like, there's that Steelers roadblock. And we've gotten past it a couple of times, but for the most part, it's just like, oh my God, they're taking Nick Foles out on a stretcher. Okay, so that's a little bit of pause for something serious seeming to happen on the football.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
But anyway, back to the Bengals, man. Like, as a Bengals fan, I'm just so sick of seeing this team, and Ben Roethlisberger in particular, just do this fucking cowboy thing every single time we play them, and being like, oh, I don't know if I can get out onto the field with my bad knees. And oops, I threw 15 touchdown passes. Like, dude, God, I'm so sick of it.
So, one thing, I'm looking at the Steelers team, man, they got so many weapons, man. Like, they got so many receivers. They have so many receivers. It just fucking disgusts me. Like, they got Dante Johnson. They got Juju. They got James Washington and Chase Claypool. That's unfair, man. Like, those receivers are so good. Like, people don't realize how good those receivers are.
What I don't understand is how they're constantly restocking with receivers like they do. And they never take receivers. Like, Chase Claypool is like one of the highest receivers they've taken in a while. They never like go out.
They get lucky when these receivers just fall to them.
Find Antonio Brown in the 6th goddamn round out of nowhere.
These receivers are just falling to them, man. Like, these receivers are just falling to them, man.
Yeah.
Like, Juju fell to them. Dante Johnson fell to them.
Guess you got
Washington just fell to them.
Whoever's coaching the wide receivers out there. My biggest takeaway, though, as a Bengals fan from this game is that the Steelers were just way more prepared for this game than the Bengals were. And I'm not, I'm still holding out on, like, there's a lot of Bengals fans who are like, oh, we need to, like, a lot of Bengals fans who are overreacting to this game. Like, we got to fire Zach Taylor. And this is like right after last week, they were counting up playoff scenarios. Like, it's like the wishy-washiness of, like, and it's every fan base. It's not just Bengals fans, but the wishy-washiness is just so, like, I don't understand how it goes through your mind like that. Like, we were just talking about, oh, this guy's starting to get offensive play calling, and now you're like, I'll fire him. And I mean, I get it. We looked awful. They took the Bengals to town, and it didn't look good. It looked like the Bengals didn't know what they were doing out there. It looked like Joe Burrow, despite all this, all these accolades he's had all year, he looked like he didn't know what he was doing out there. It was not a good game. It was not a good look on Zach Taylor. But at the same time, we're building something here, and we're putting things together, and there's a schedule. And while it didn't look like the Bengals were on schedule this week, it's looked like they have been most of the year. And a lot of people weren't saying we were going to be competitive this year. We were kind of hoping we would prove them wrong, but in all reality, this was not the year that we were supposed to compete. It was supposed to be next year. And, I still haven't seen any reason that we aren't building toward that. But, yes, Zach Taylor needs to get us more prepared to play teams like the Steelers. But in the coaching staff's defense, it doesn't help when you're practicing John Ross at cornerback because you have no other cornerback options. And you might potentially have to pull someone out of your ass to play third cornerback. And then we got lucky that Mackenzie Alexander came off protocol and then got hurt during the game anyway. So that sucked. But, I mean, you got, like, he had Tony Brown and Jamal Davis who were taking, starting snaps at cornerback. Like, we don't have anybody else in the secondary right now. We literally had 3 cornerbacks, and if one of those guys went down, they were talking about putting Jesse Bates in at cornerback. Like, that's how bad it is at cornerback right now. We don't have anybody. Like I actually saw a rumor floating around Facebook earlier that said the Bengals were potentially interested in bringing in DeAndre Baker, who, as a lot of people will recall, was that cornerback the Giants just drafted in the first round, who got he got in trouble for trying to steal a bunch of money from people, but it turned out that the lawyer who was involved in the case was actually just trying to extort money out of the guy, and a lot of the statements from people got redacted, and it ended up being a whole bunch of bullshit, a whole lot of nothing. So now he's looking to get back in the league. Oh yeah, that sucks.
That's messed up. Yeah,
that is messed up. But he's looking to get back in the league now, and the Bengals are one of 4 teams that was reported to be interested in him. And it's just kind of like we could really use a break like that right now for real.
Yeah, he probably played with a big chip on his shoulder. You look at the time possession of the ball. The Steelers only had possession of the ball a minute more than the Bengals. So they didn't really dominate time possession. What killed the Bengals? One thing that killed the Bengals is those fumbles. Fumbles are momentum killers, man.
Well, that was the thing. Like, if you noticed, we actually had what was it? We were down, I think 22-7 before the half.
Well, the first fumble happened on that kick return, right?
Yeah, and we were down 19-7 with I think like 7:23 left in the half, and well, I mean, the fumble killed us.
But one thing about the Steelers that they do is that they like, all right, so like they take those mistakes, they take like those mini mistakes, like little mistakes, like mental errors, and they magnify those bitches, and then next thing you know, you're losing by 14, and then like, but like when Steelers players get turnovers, they just can't be like they've been there. They will rub it the fuck into you. Like they'll be like, yeah, we just got a turnover. They will dance on your ass. Yeah. They will rub that shit in. They will call you trash. And there ain't shit you can do about it because you just turn the ball over. Like you ain't. Well, and they'll score your ass after you get turnover. The thing I fucking hate the Steelers, man.
That in the first quarter happened like literally as the Bengals were kind of starting to drive down the field. They were starting to get a little bit of momentum. You get a touchdown on that drive, and you're going into the second quarter down 5 points. Now I know 2 drives later they got a touchdown. It's just it's like you were saying, it's like little momentum killers like that. It really hurts you. And they had the opportunity to go into the half with a pretty decent, like to have it pretty decently close, but they just completely fall apart in the middle. Like, I mean, they had like a 10-play drive or something. And then they just like completely, like Joe Burrow takes a sack and they just completely run out of time. And they and when they could have been going into the half down, 22-14, they ended up going into the half down 22-7. And then couple that with the Erickson muffed punt that just completely flip field goal position. You get situations where the Steelers just pile it on and pile it on and pile it on.
Yeah, they pile it on you, man.
And while these 2 teams, I still don't feel like these 2 teams are as far apart as this final score said they are.
Yeah.
But the problem is like, if you make – there is so little room for error when you're playing the Steelers, especially in the AFC North, where they love to bully inexperienced teams and they love to bully inexperienced players. And at the end of the day, you just can't do that against them because they're going to do this to you. And
2 things.
I have faith that Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor are both going to take this experience and learn from it. But boy, I will admit, it is not fun to go through it. It is not fun to go through it. But you know what they say, what don't kill you makes you stronger. And maybe this is Joe Burrow's chance to go Super Saiyan. Who knows?
I don't, man. Joe Burrow had some throws. That throw to T. Higgins, that 30-yard throw to T. Higgins, the touchdown throw. Yeah, it's good and stuff. I like Higgins, man. I like Higgins. I like Higgins so much. Like I just love watching his game. I remember I was watching the person. I'm such a fan of him. He's so good.
Right.
Anyway, you gotta give these rookie quarterbacks 2 games, like when they play these defenses. Like when a rookie quarterback goes against a defense like the Steelers, they're always gonna look bad, but they play them twice. So I think he's gonna look a lot better when he plays them twice. Like Joe Burrow, he's learning. He's taking mental notes. And this team is growing. And we talked about, like I talked about the Browns with Baker Mayfield, not turning the ball over. Like that's something that a lot of young players got to learn, because a lot of times that's like the most common mistake for young players is turning the ball over. And people get so frustrated when young quarterbacks throw picks or young quarterbacks have interceptions or fumbles and mistakes. Well, that's what happens when the young quarterbacks. That's the difference between young quarterbacks and veteran quarterbacks, is that every young quarterback is going to have those fumble and mistakes or those interceptions or, whatever. So even though Joe Burrow didn't fumble the ball in this game, his teammates did. But it's just little things, man. Like the Bengals just gotta learn how to play a clean game first. Once they learn how to play a clean game, then they can worry about winning, and they could win more. They could beat these teams that are better than them if they play a clean game. But if you don't play a clean game, you keep on shooting yourself in the foot. If you get stupid penalties, you get stupid fumbles, if you get these momentum killers, then you are taking your already disadvantage and magnifying it and doubling it, and you're making it a harder hole for you to climb out of when you're playing against a team like Steelers. But I think Monday night in 2 weeks, y'all should be fine, or 3 weeks, however long the game is. But no, I think they're going.
That's the thing, with a little bit more experience. I think that's what the Bengals really need right now, is they need experience. And honestly, they probably need experiences like this to turn them into a team that's really, something to, you need honing examples in games like this to really put you into that place where you're like, okay, I can't just do whatever I want. There are really good teams out there, and I have to learn how to beat these teams, especially, and the nice thing is that's what Joe Burrow's done his whole career, is he's just taking all of his setbacks, and there's been so many setbacks in Joe Burrow's career. He's taken every single one of them in stride and figured out, how can I become a better player because of this? And I think he's going to take that. I think he's going to lead this team to take a just gut-wrenching, awful performance that just humiliates and dejects our fan base like this. But those guys in the locker room, partially because of Joe Burrow, I think are going to take this game and they're going to learn from it. And I'm hoping, I really, really hope that something like this does not happen again. And I could see Joe Burrow not letting something like this happen again. I really hope that actually does happen. So anyway, let's go ahead and every week after the games, we like to give out an award called the Underrated Player of the Week, which, as the name of it obviously states, is the player that like for the Bengals and Browns, who me and Thomas each think deserves more credit than they're getting this week for their performance. So as you guys had a good performance, I'll let you go first, Thomas.
The underrated player of the week. I want to say Kareem Hunt, because I feel like Nick Chubb is always overshadowing Kareem Hunt, but let's be real. I know who Kareem Hunt is. So I'm going with Wyatt Teller. Definitely gonna go with Wyatt Teller. Dude, definitely. He makes the difference between the offensive line. He makes the offensive line that more physical. We got so many great offensive linemen on this team. We talk about how hard it is last week or the week before last, about how hard it is to build a good offensive line. It's very hard in the NFL. And the Browns have done it. And that offensive line is going to be our key. That's going to be our identity going forward. So, Wyatt Teller, shout out to you. You are the heart and soul of that offensive line. And you're gonna help us. You're gonna help propel us to a playoff team. Shout out to you,
guys who play in the trenches, whether it be offensive or defensive line, are actually usually really good candidates for this award, because typically they're the guys who are kind of really determining the flow of the game. And they're the guys who so very rarely actually get credit for it. So, like the very first underrated player of the week that I gave out for the Bengals was to Xavier Williams, some defensive tackle that we picked off the street right before that game. And guys like that are so often going to be the recipient of awards like this, just because just that's just the nature of those positions. It's like they don't get heralded as much as they really probably should be, unless like on the defensive side, unless they're just making sacks, or on the offensive side if they're just making these incredible pancake blocks, which are not exactly the norm on the other side.
Yeah.
So for the Bengals, I'm not, even though I just went on that whole speech about offensive and defensive linemen, I'm not picking offensive and defensive linemen. First of all, it wasn't the worst game I've ever seen as far as pressure for Joe Burrow goes, but it definitely wasn't great. So I don't think any of the offensive linemen deserve to be like, oh, underrated player of the week. Like, no. And then the defense gave up 36 points. So, like, I am not happy with any of them. But I think Tyler Boyd.
Ben Roethlisberger looks so good. Ben Roethlisberger looks so good. He's steady our defense. Oh, fuck Ben Roethlisberger. Fuck the Steelers.
I think Tyler Boyd deserves a little bit of a shout out this week, because T. Higgins in the passing game is the one that's really going to get all the accolades this week, because he's the one who had over 100 yards catching this week. He's the one who got that touchdown catch. T. Higgins is the one who, any guy who's got him in fantasy right now is going to be like, oh, T. Higgins, that's a dog right there. But the next most significant pass catching target was Tyler Boyd, and there were a couple of key catches that he had at certain points and really impressive catches that, just like last week when he got, like everybody was talking about, like the throw that Joe Burrow threw that was like kind of behind Tyler Boyd, but he just kind of like spun around and happened to catch it at the right point and had the reflexes and mental state of awareness enough to catch it. And there wasn't anything quite that impressive this week, but there were some really good plays that kind of helped the momentum. But what was really important from Tyler Boyd this week is his run blocking. Like I said, the run blocking, the running game this week, 139 yards. It was a key. Obviously, it wasn't key to a whole lot because we got blown out, but it was what would you call it? It was it was kind of a bright spot for an otherwise just absolutely abysmal offensive performance this week. Tyler Boyd was the best run blocker on the team. He actually had an 88.9 grade, over 15 run blocking snaps per PFF. So, I mean, that's nearly an elite run blocking grade from your wide receiver. Another
thing I noticed about this game, by the way, I just want to say this real quick, is that y'all missed a lot of like opportunities to get an interception.
Oh,
like at least three. Yeah.
And Jesse Bates dropped two of them. Like literally had them in his hands, dropped, and then after the play,
in his hands.
Like, no,
in his hands.
No, but you
one of them could have been a touchdown. One of them could have been returned as a touchdown. Like
pick six.
Yeah. Like I'm just looking at him like, man, like he legit dropped the interception right in his head. Like there's
I was fuming. I was livid.
I don't think that, man. Look, I don't think. Real quick on the Zach Taylor thing. Like I watched the Bengals. What I watched the Bengals is not. It's not the coaching. They look like a well-coached team. I can tell you a bad coached team, man.
Yeah,
Freddie Kitchens. It's not the coaching. This team is buying into their coach. It's not the coaching, and there's things that he's doing. But you got to realize, for one, you're playing in the AFC, the toughest conference, the tougher conference of the two, and they're playing the AFC North, which is probably right now the toughest conference in football. I think the AFC North right now I think you could argue the AFC North right now is better than the NFC West. You really can make the argument right now, especially with the Steelers being the top team. Like, you're looking at a team that plays in probably the toughest division in football, and then toughest conference in football. So there's a huge hill to climb, especially the AFC is the half and half nots. There are so many good teams in the AFC this year that it is really hard for a team like the Bengals to even probably crack in right now because of how good the AFC just is this year. So, you got to put things in perspective. Zach Taylor, he finds creative ways to use offensive line. He finds creative ways to move the ball down the field. The offense doesn't look predictable. And Joe Burrow is growing every single game. Even when y'all lose, Joe Burrow is still growing. You can see that he's growing. Right. So, I don't understand the frustration with Zach Taylor. Give him time.
That was the key to this year, I think, was growth. It wasn't, hey, let's go be playoff contenders this year. It's, hey, let's grow. And, I've had some arguments with a couple of people who were saying the Bengals should look farther along in year 2. But I'm just kind of like, is it really year 2? It's Zach Taylor's second year, yeah. But Zach last year was just like, hey, this is the old system. I'm going to run this old system and see what I have out of these guys and see what guys I can implement going forward. I think this is the first year of Zach Taylor's system really being his system. Because last year was just basically seeing what was left of the old system and seeing how much could go into the new system. And not to mention it's Joe Burrow's first year. It's T. Higgins' first year. It's this is the first year of a lot of the really big core of the team. So I don't know, to criticize Zach Taylor for us not being farther along in our second year, I don't know if I would agree that this is the second year. I think this is the first year. I think last year was kind of a mulligan, honestly. I saw one guy actually. You were talking about people being dramatic earlier. I'm not gonna name any names. I'm not gonna call anybody out here. But if you're watching this podcast,
call him out. No, I'm joking.
And it was you. You know who you are, and you know that you're ridiculous, and you said it because you're ridiculous. And I'm quoting Bill Barr here, I think. And I'm not going to get into politics, but you said it because it's ridiculous, and you know it's ridiculous. And they compared Zach Taylor to Adam Gase, and I'm like, are you out of your mind?
That is ridiculous.
What?
That's real ridiculous.
Adam Gase. They actually said that Zach Taylor's approaching Adam Gase levels of bad. And I'm like, what? What kind of crack are you on? Adam Gase, how on earth? Like, the Jets haven't won a game. The Jets haven't looked competitive in a game except for the Patriots game, which was kind of weird. But the Jets have been by far and away the most absolutely awful team this year. The Bengals have won 2 games and a half of one game. Should have won that game. The Bengals should have 6 wins this year. The Bengals have been super competitive in almost every game. The only games they've really been blown out in are the Ravens game and the Steelers game. And I mean, that's bad. We got to win those games. We got to be competitive in the AFC North. And Zach Taylor can't continue to be the head coach if we don't figure out how to win those games at some point. But to say that we're looking like we're as bad as the Adam Gase Jets, are you crazy? Are you serious? That is the most insane analogy or comparison that I've heard about Zach Taylor at this point. Yes, is he convincing me that he's this prodigy, amazing coach? No, not really. But he's not Adam Gase. What? What are you?
Nobody's Adam Gase. Nobody but Freddie Kitchens.
It was Freddie Kitchens is a special kind of, but
at
least Freddie Kitchens is so obviously bad that he didn't trick the Browns into giving him more time to be really, really bad. Adam Gase somehow tricked the Jets into thinking that he's not as bad as he really actually is, despite being this bad despite seemingly ruining Ryan Tannehill, because Ryan Tannehill looks great now.
Yeah. Oh, look, man. That whole thing is just that guy is such a bad coach. First of all, when you look at him, his eyes goes like this.
He is such a horrible coach, And to compare Zach Taylor to Adam Gase is ridiculous and it's silly. And honestly, I think you're just trying to be a drama queen to get attention. Like, I mean, if I doubt the guy who said that is going to watch this podcast, but if you do stumble across this podcast and you know who you are, you're an idiot. I'm just going to say it right now. You're a moron for saying that. You're completely like I don't want to sit here and pick fights with Bengals fans, but that was insane to me. Like Adam Gase, what? Anyway, I'm spending too long on this part.
Apparently, you're a moron. We got an idiot alert.
Dumbass alert. We need that guy from what was it that 70s show with that guy who's always calling people dumbass? I don't know. I might just be speaking out of my ass here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get on to the state of the AFC North as a whole now. So you got the Steelers, who are pretty much like, I mean, there's definitely plenty of scenarios where they do not maintain their perfect record, and like, you know, I would say that both the Ravens and the Browns should not count themselves out of potentially winning this division at this point, but it's starting to get to crunch time. Y'all are 3 games down, and they haven't lost a game yet, and they have a pretty easy schedule coming up. So,
I
the Steelers are the team to bet on, and they were in firm the AFC North. The Ravens
I'm giving up on that pipe.
are out here losing to the Patriots. Like not just the Patriots, but the eviscerated remains of the Patriots. I believe that's what I called them last week. And the Browns didn't really beat anybody, but it's still a really good win because y'all are, you know, tied with the Ravens now for that number 2 spot. And I think the only thing that's keeping you behind is the fact that you lost to them. You know, the Ravens, if the Ravens keep their downward trajectory and the Browns can just kind of stay steady, then y'all will probably take over that playoff seed. And the Bengals are not mathematically eliminated from winning this division. I ran the scenarios. I promise you. Like we could still win this division. It could happen.
Can y'all? Can y'all really?
Define can. Let's talk philosophically about this word can here for a second. Like could in some parallel universe where the Bengals like suddenly remember how to play football against good teams, could we then potentially take a run at winning the division? Still probably not, because the Steelers and the Ravens and the Browns aren't going to lose that damn many games. But you know, like let's say there's another parallel universe where the Bengals remember how to play football against good teams, and the Steelers and Ravens and Browns all like fall off a cliff or something, like a literal actual cliff. Then yeah, the Bengals could totally win this division.
So what you're saying is that there is a division. There is not a division. There is a universe out there where the Bengals make the playoffs.
There is a universe out there where the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. Or there's probably one where they've already made the playoffs too, just because of the astrophysics. Fascinating.
Well, this is what can happen. There is a theory of how the Bengals can make the playoffs legitimately this year. Hear me out. There's an NFL rule, if COVID takes over and they can't play a Week 18, the NFLPA and the NFL owners have agreed to expand the playoffs for this year only to 8 teams.
I thought it was
for
16.
Conference. Was that?
I thought it was 16.
No, like 16 teams total. So 18 per conference.
Yeah. So
currently it's 7.
One extra seed. But
yes, one extra seed.
I think you understand right now. Right now, the number 8 seed and the number 9 seed in the AFC right now are both 6 and 3.
Yeah, but see, that's not gonna last. Like I don't think that's sustainable. It's just not sustainable. You're not gonna have. There's just no way we're gonna have. I mean, like the AFC is on track to require you to win 12 games to make the playoffs. Like you have to win 12 games to get the number 7 seed. That's how like deep the AFC is. Like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't. That's realistically not gonna happen. Like if that happens, just what the hell is 2020? But anyway,
that would be the perfect end to this season. It really would.
The hypothetical scenario is that the Bengals, they added.
Just to interrupt you real quick, in addition to teams having to be 12-4 to make it in the AFC, in addition to that, you like have the I don't know, the fucking Washington football team somehow winning the NFC East and then going on a run and making it to the NFC Championship, or God forbid the fucking Super Bowl.
The NFC is so bad, dude.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the Bengals are okay. The Bengals are 2-6-1. If the Bengals win 9 games, if they win their last 7 games, and they end up having a 9-6-1 team, then realistically, y'all might be able to get the number 8 seed.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the only way. And then a couple of quarterbacks get COVID, like Ben Roethlisberger get COVID for a week. No, I'm not wishing COVID on nobody. I'm sorry.
Well,
that's bad juju right now.
Here's the problem with your theory. We are currently 2-6-1, right? So for us to go on a run, that would require games continuing to happen. So if they cut the end of the season, and let's say we win like our next, let's see, what was it I said? I said the Bengals. The Bengals play an NFC East team in 3 of their next 4 games and also have the Texans in Week 16. So that's potentially 4 wins right there, right? But you have to make it to Week 16 for that to happen.
That's true. Yeah.
And then we're still 6-1.
My theory sucks. Yeah, man. The AFC is too good, man.
Our best
AFC is so
making it through making it through Week 17 and just having a miracle run. That's the only hope we have left.
Literally in the AFC right now, teams are just beat up on each other.
Yeah.
It's literally the good teams are just beat up on each other. Yo, the Ravens, man. I just want to say I was right. And we're going to clip this part out and we're going to put this together because I was right. I have it on video. I called it.
What did you call it, Thomas?
I was right. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I noticed about that game. We talk about cold weather quarterbacks. Man, you talking about cold weather quarterbacks. You're talking about when there's elements in a place like Foxborough and Lamar Jackson struggles against the Patriots, a team that only won 3 games going into that game. Yeah. The Patriots out physical the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson haven't won a single game when losing by 10 or more. I don't want to pile on Lamar Jackson, but I am piling on Lamar Jackson right now. And you know what the thing is that I just think that teams are trying to figure him out. Hot take. I think teams are starting to figure him out.
Well, it's not just that. I think teams are figuring out that Greg Roman offense, which is the same thing that happened in San Francisco, by the way. It's the same reason why Colin Kaepernick basically went from looking like like at the very least a mid-tier starting quarterback in the NFL to a guy who wasn't even like maybe just over the 30th best starting quarterback in the NFL. And it's just because those Greg Roman offensives, they're so innovative at first. And then once NFL teams figure them out, it's just, that's all she wrote. But
and not just that, is that, the Ravens are so like dependent on Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson goes, that offense, that whole team goes. And like when they see him struggling like this, like, the thing is that, it's great. He's very athletic. He's always going to have that athleticism. But the fact of the matter is, when you're a quarterback, one thing, you have to have the ability you have to master ability to throw that ball. And he hasn't mastered his ability to throw yet. You look at Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is an athletic quarterback who can run all up the field. But one thing about Patrick Mahomes, he can throw that ball better than anybody else. That's what makes Patrick Mahomes probably one of the most dangerous quarterbacks we have ever seen, because he can run like hell and he can pass better than anybody else. Lamar Jackson can't pass like Patrick Mahomes.
Well,
Lamar Jackson can't pass like Joe Burrow.
That's the
Like,
thing. I think people slept on Lamar's passing ability a little bit, but now that they're taking him seriously as like, oh, this guy can throw the ball. Now it's kind of like, okay, this guy was never really an elite passer of the ball. He was better than people were giving him credit for. But now that people are giving him credit, now it's like, okay, so this ain't anything special.
Yeah, well, the thing is about his passing is that his passing, the thing that always opened up his passing was the threat of the run.
Right.
So like when you're playing him, you're not playing preparing for just his passing. You're playing preparing for his legs too.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like whenever I would play my friends in Madden, I was the kind of guy. It didn't matter if I had Eli Manning or got Peyton Manning. It didn't matter if I had like the most immobile quarterback in the NFL. You know, half the time my brain would be like, okay, just run the ball. Don't even try to pass it. So when basically you would open up so much downfield because they had, at the very least, they had to put a quarterback, like a linebacker spy on you, or maybe even a safety spy on you, just to make sure that, you know, they could catch you when you were going to inevitably run at some point. And then that opens up not just zone defense so much, but it opens up, in some cases, it opens up man defense to the point where, you know, you can always find a guy open because, you know, in looking like you're going to run, what you're also doing is you're also extending the play. You're giving those receivers time to get into holes and get open. And if you give receivers in the NFL, in today's NFL, enough time, they will get open, because cornerbacks in today's NFL, they're good, but I mean, at some point, you can only run backwards as fast as somebody else is running forwards for so long.
Yep. And so you know, we don't, you know, his passing game has never played honest. So it's just, I don't know. I'm not going to say that we're going to see Lamar Jackson's career collapse. I'm going to say that. I just think that people are starting to just figure him out a little more. I
think he's going from being a guy that everybody puts in like the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL discussion to a guy who's like, you know, probably still in the top half, but not somebody who you like lose sleep over.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, dude's still deadly with his feet. Still deadly with his feet. Well, and if he developed that passing ability like he's supposed to, ooh-wee. Like, I mean, it's not like, you know, it's not that he don't have the arm strength. He has the arm strength. It's just him just knowing how to make the right throws at the right time, or just being able to throw the ball with accuracy, like like a pitcher, not like a thrower.
I think
I say that all the time.
I think right now it would be reasonable to say that Lamar Jackson is arguably, if not the worst quarterback in the AFC North. At the very least, the second worst quarterback in the AFC North, because I think Joe Burrow and Ben Roethlisberger are obviously better, and then you got Baker Mayfield, who kind of depending on the week is like, you know, he's either great or he doesn't really show quite as much. So I think with Lamar Jackson, you've kind of got a situation where he's no longer the guy who's just like, you know, the guy who's really being feared by everybody. He's the guy who, like, you know, if he's lucky, he's the 3rd best quarterback in the AFC North.
Ooh, I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah,
I think Baker Mayfield is still poised for a second half run.
Well,
as soon as the bad weather is over, I think Baker Mayfield will take off.
I think Lamar Jackson is solidified as the worst quarterback in the AFC North.
Oh, we're winning that Monday night game. I am now confident Browns will win that Monday night game in a couple of weeks.
I hope so.
I would love to buy tickets for it if I could, but I'm not sure if they're going to allow tickets. You know, we probably want to, you know.
Well, they're talking about doing another lockdown here soon, so we're going to see like stands being good games. But anyway, I think that's going to do it. I think it's going to do it for this episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. We got hopefully the Bengals can rebound after this just absolutely heart-wrenching loss. And for the Browns fans,
Sorry about that,
hopefully the Browns can continue this momentum. And
Let's go.
y'all are definitely looking at y'all are almost definitely making it to the playoffs at this point. And depending on what you do, maybe you can position yourself for a better run in the playoffs when you get there. But like I said, thank you for listening. You can, if you want to follow me, anything else that I do on social media, you can find me at Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter and Facebook.com/the Phelps. And then, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram too. And I actually don't even remember what my Instagram handle is at this point. I don't even use it. I'm going to do it.
You can find me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, you can find me at tstar94 on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find my comedy page at the Blowdown page on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We make cool comedy videos and sports videos. So come check us out.
Yep. And like I said, if you guys like what we're putting out there, comment, like, subscribe. All of it helps us out. Right now, we're just growing. We're just in the point. We're honestly at the point right now where if anybody's listening, then it makes our lives so much more awesome.
We appreciate every single one of you.
Right. I think we got 14 subscribers right now, and I'm unbelievably grateful for every single 14 one of them.
Thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
I'm influenced by a lot of these guys who go out there and you see they got 5,000 subscribers, or they got 500,000 subscribers, or they got 1.2 million subscribers. But we got 14 subscribers, and we're still having the time of our lives here. So
yep, this is so much fun to do, honestly.
Right. Thank you so much for helping us do this. And honestly, if none of you were watching, we'd probably be doing this anyway. So just like I said, if you like the content, just please like and subscribe. Comments, let us know if you want to come on the podcast. And we always love having guests on. You don't have to be like some pundit or somebody who's like an expert on whatever. We'll take fans, we'll take whoever. Just come on, have a beer with us, have a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll do it for this podcast, and we will see you guys on the next one. Hoo day.
See ya. Go Browns. Ooh, 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 ooh.